In number 1, we have 7 times z equals 49. What's the opposite of multiplying by 7? Dividing by 7. Is that what you were going to say? Okay, good. So we're going to divide both sides by 7. What is 49 divided by 7? 7, and then of course the 7's on the left. Give us a 1z, or just z, equals 7. Now if you plug 7 back into the original equation, you'd have 7 times 7 equals 49, and that is of course true, so we are good to go on that one. The next one's a two-stepper. You want to undo the adding and subtracting first, so how do I undo, what am I doing? Subtracting 4. How do I undo subtracting 4? Add 4 to both sides. Good, so those are gone. I am left with 2x on the left equals 22 on the right. Then what? Yes, divide both sides by 2. X equals 11. Great. And number 3, what do I do to undo that adding 5? Subtract 5 from both sides. Good, so you get that y equals 22. Good. I'll give you a second to catch up on the first 3. Let me know what questions you have. Alright, on the next one, we are basically just plugging in and simplifying, so I'm going to change all the x's to a 2, all the y's to a negative 1. So this is going to turn into 2 plus 2 over 2, comma, negative 1 minus 1 over 2. We need to simplify the numerators first. What is 2 plus 2? So I have 4 over 2. What is negative 1 minus 1? I was already in the negative. I'm going more into the negative. Negative 2 over 2. Now you can simplify both of those. What is 4 divided by 2? 2. And what is negative 2 divided by 2? Negative 1. So our solution here is an ordered pair. 2 comma negative 1. And I know it's an ordered pair because the problem started out as an ordered pair and we have x's in the front and y's in the back. Any questions on that one? Alright, I'm going to do the same thing for number 5. I'm going to write it up top because I'm out of room on the bottom there. So I have 2 minus 4 over 2 and negative 1 plus 5 over 2. Alright, what is 2 minus 4? 2 minus 4. And then negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. So I get negative 1 for my x value. What is negative 1 plus 5? It's like 5 minus 1. 4. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. And there you go. What are your questions for the warm-up? Alright, so today we are starting chapter 2 with the first section. It's all about segment bisectors. Our objective today is to bisect a segment and to find the coordinates of the midpoint. So we have some vocab words to get us started. It looks like a ton, but this is actually the only slide of vocab, so once you get through this, we'll go right into examples. I'll give you some time to write these down, then we'll talk about them. There are 5 examples today if you are someone that likes to look forward to those. Example 5 has 2 parts, though, so sort of like 6 examples. But like I said, I'll give you some time to write this down, and then we'll talk about these 3 words, and then we'll get going with some examples. Alright, so our first vocab word today is bisect. Bisect is to divide into 2 congruent parts. A segment bisector is a segment, ray, line, or plane that intersects a segment at its midpoint. And the midpoint is the point on a segment that divides it into two congruent segments. There is the formula to find the midpoint. So basically when you're finding the midpoint, you're given two ordered pairs. You find the averages. You find the averages of the x's, so you add the two values together, divide by 2. You find the average of the y's, you add the two y's together, and you divide by 2. So those are our 3 words for today. Any questions? Oh, yes, that's a good point. Congruent means that they are equal. So if I say I am dividing it into 2 congruent, that means 2 equal parts. So if you want to put a little equal sign above the word congruent, that might help you out. The 2 parts will be equal. Any other questions? Alright, let's jump into our examples. I'll give you some time to draw these diagrams. Make sure you label them just as I have them. The entire segment on the first one is 20, and then the second one, just the small segment on the left, is 7. That will definitely change the way we do the problem. Alright, so example 1, it says that K is the midpoint of the segment FG. So the entire thing has K right in the middle. Find FK and KG. So we're finding the 2 smaller portions when the entire thing is 20. Now, since K is the midpoint, we know that the 2 sides must be congruent. They must be equal. In geometry, we often label our diagrams, or they'll be labeled when you see them, to show that 2 things are congruent. So if you see something like that, those little tick marks, that means that those 2 segments are congruent. Or sometimes there'll be like a double tick mark. As long as they're the same, that means they're congruent. So I want you guys to add those to your diagrams. And let's focus just on number 1. If the entire thing is 20 and the 2 parts that make up this 20 are congruent, how long must they each be? 10. How'd you get that? Yeah, 10 plus 10 gives you 20. Or you can take the 20 and divide it by 2. Now, anytime you're talking about a measure, you'll notice that you don't need the segment symbol above it, so you can just say FK equals 10 and KG equals 10. You don't need the line over it. If you put it, it wouldn't be a big deal, but typically when you're talking about measurements, they drop the segment symbol. So it asks us to find both, so make sure you label them, which one you're talking about, and how long they are. Any questions on number 1? Number 2, now we're talking about the segment JL, and M is the midpoint. So I label these with 2 tick marks each. That means the same thing as the 1 tick mark each. They're congruent. I'm looking for ML. So this guy right here, ML. How long is ML? 7. Good. And then I'm looking for JL. So if this is 7 and this one's 7, how long is the entire thing? 14. Very good. Again, don't just say 7, 14. Tell me what you're talking about. Label them. What are your questions so far? Let's say in my notebook I didn't want to write the word segment bisector, but I still wanted to kind of get that point across that those 2 segments were congruent because S was the bisector. How can I show that the 2 segments are congruent? Just in my picture. What? How do you make it even? What do I add to my diagram? Yeah, the little markings, right? Do you want to do 1, 2, 3? A little V. Let's be creative. Sometimes you'll see like a little V like that. As long as they're the same, as long as it's the exact same marking on the 2 segments, you know they're congruent. So again, if you just have one little tick mark, or 2, or 3, or a little v, as long as they're the same, we know that those segments are congruent. So again, S is the segment bisector, so it's cutting through FH at the midpoint. It's breaking our line into 2 congruent segments. This one's a little different because I'm not just looking for the length of the segment, I'm looking for the value of X. How do you think I'm going to find X? That's right. He said you're going to divide. Before I can divide, what do I have to set up? What do I know about 2x and 8? They are congruent, which means they're, I heard someone whisper it, equals. So 2x equals 8. They are the exact same thing. They are congruent segments. Yes, now that I set them equal, now I can divide by 2. So what does x equal?
4.
4. Good. And again, if you plugged it back in, 2 times 4 is 8. You'd get 8 and 8. They're congruent, so it makes sense. What are your questions on this one? All right, let's go to number 4. Same type of setup. I have a segment bisector, line 1. It's bisecting AB. Whoops, let me back up. I forgot to label this one, so go ahead and add A on one side, B on the other when you're drawing it in your notes. As you are drawing this diagram, how can you show that the 2 sides are congruent? What could I add to my diagram? A little line. Yeah, let's use a double line this time. Again, as long as the markings are the same, you know that that means they're congruent. And again, I know they're congruent because in the directions it said it was a segment bisector, and in our definitions today we learned that segment bisectors divide a line segment into 2 congruent parts. So what can I do with the x plus 7 and the 9? Yeah, good. X plus 7 equals 9. I know I'm going a little fast. Sorry, I just get excited. I'll slow down a little, let you guys catch up. And then you solve it. So how do I figure out what x is? Subtract 7. Good. So my actual answer here is that x equals 2. And then again, if you put a 2 right here, you get 2 plus 7 is a 9. You get that the 2 segments are both 9. So then they are definitely congruent and it makes sense. What are your questions? Okay, we have one more slide of examples. These are probably the harder ones for today. So I'll give you some time to write these 2 down. We're doing the same thing in both of them. We're finding the midpoint. Alright, I'm going to write the midpoint formula just to remind us. Remember, we're finding the average of the x's. So add the 2 x values, divide by 2. The average of the y's, so the 2 y values add together, divide by 2. Now, the first x value that I am given in part A is 4, so I'm going to label that x1. The first y value they gave me is 0, so I'm going to label that one y1. The second x is negative 3. The second y is negative 1. I'm going to just go ahead and do that for b as well while I'm at it. I'm on a roll. x1, y1, x2, y2. From there, you're basically just plugging numbers in. So I want to add my x's. So x1 in part A is 4. x2 in part A is -3, all over 2. y1 is 0 plus y2 is -1, all over 2. And then you simplify. 4 plus -3 is +1 over 2. Can't simplify that. That's as good as it gets. 0 plus -1 is -1 over 2. That's as good as that one gets. Do you guys have any questions on part A? Alright, same thing on the second one. So I want to add the two x's. So x1 is -2. x2 is 4, all divided by 2. Add your y's. y1 is 3. y2 is -8, all over 2. Then we are basically just simplifying. So I have -2 plus 4, that's 2 over 2. And 3 plus -8 is -5 over 2. Alright, I'm going to simplify and write it up here so you guys can see it. 2 over 2 is 1. Now, you can leave this -5 over 2 if you want. There's no number that goes into 5 and 2 to reduce it. That is an improper fraction, though. If you don't like improper fractions, you can change it to a mixed number. It's -2 and 1/2. So either one of those, I'll just write or. This one or this one. You can pick how you're going to write it. It doesn't really matter. They're the exact same thing. I typically leave them improper fractions. It just saves a step of simplifying. However, the calculator would make it -2 and 1/2. So if you are a calculator person, you can go ahead and simplify it that way. What are your questions on what we talked about today? All right, I'm going to give you your homework. It is a practice worksheet. 2.1, we'll do the first 3 together, and then you have the rest of class to finish this worksheet. It is due at the beginning of class tomorrow.